Good. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're here to announce an arrest in a 30-year-old cold case, and I want to make sure we have the proper names and spelling for everyone who is going to be joining us today. So first off is Chief Mark Yamada of the Montgomery County Department of Police, and that's Mark, M-A-R-C, Yamada, Y-A-M-A-D-A. And then Executive Assistant Chief Andre, A-N-D-R-E, Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. He is the Executive Assistant Chief with the DC Metropolitan Police. We also have Assistant Chief Willie Parker Lone, that's Willie, common spelling, with I-E, Parker-Lone. He is the Chief of the Investigative Services Bureau for Montgomery County Police. We also have John McCarthy, who is the Montgomery County State's Attorney, and detectives from the Major Crimes Division Homicide Section, as well as detectives from the Major Crimes Division Missing Person and Cold Case Section. The detectives who worked on the case were Detective Paula, common spelling, Paula Hamill, that's H-A-M-M-I-L-L, and Detective Steve, common spelling, Smuggeresky, and that is S-M-U-G-E-R-E-S-K-Y, Detective Steve Smuggeresky. First up is Assistant Chief Mark Yamada, and you all can come up, please.
Thank you, Shira. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Today, as Shira had said, I'm joined by Executive Assistant Chief Andre Wright from the DC Metropolitan Police Department, John McCarthy from our State's Attorney's Office, Assistant Chief Willie Parker Lone, who oversees our Investigative Services Bureau, and detectives from our Major Crimes Division and Cold Case Unit. We are all very pleased to announce the arrest of Amir Jalil Ali, formerly known as Kenneth Wonsom. Mr. Ali has been charged with first-degree murder in connection with a 1995 case involving DC Metropolitan Police Officer Denna Campbell. Mr. Ali was taken into custody on Tuesday in Laurel by Montgomery County police officers on a task force assigned to the U.S. Marshals Capital Area Region Fugitive Task Force, and he is currently being held at the Montgomery County Detention Center. A bond hearing is scheduled for later this afternoon. This arrest closes one of the longest standing cold cases for our department. Officer Campbell was just 24 years old at the time of her death. She was a 4-year veteran with the DC Metropolitan Police Department and assigned to their 7th District. Her death has touched 2 police departments and left a lasting impression on her family, her loved ones, and her fellow officers. I want to recognize the work of our Major Crimes Division Homicide Section and our Missing Persons Cold Case Units. In particular, I want to recognize Detective Paula Hamill and Detective Steve Smuggeresky, who led this investigation with true grit and determination, finally being able to bring this to closure. Their work and the work of their colleagues show that we never give up, and we do not forget the victims or their families. This case has remained ever present to our investigators, to both of our agencies, and to Officer Campbell's family, her colleagues, all who have awaited 3 decades to find answers. While this arrest won't erase the pain of losing Denna, we hope that it does bring some resolution and sense of peace to everyone involved. I'll now turn it over to Executive Assistant Chief Wright, and after he speaks, Assistant Chief Willie Parker Lone and his team will be available to answer questions you may have about the investigation.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Executive Assistant Chief Andre Wright of the Metropolitan Police Department, and I'm here on behalf of Chief of Police Pamela A. Smith. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to the men and women of this outstanding agency, Montgomery County Police Department, for their tireless pursuit of justice in this case. It is clear that this case weighed heavily on the detectives working in Montgomery County Police Department as it did on our agency. Officer Denna Campbell was just embarking on a promising career with the DC Police Department when the senseless act of violence took place. In her 4 years with our department, Officer Campbell had already proved herself to be a hero in the community she served. In 1993, she selflessly pulled 4 victims out of a burning van on Pennsylvania Avenue. Her actions that day earned her commendations from MPD leaders and praise from her community. Those actions proved Officer Campbell was ready to place the safety of those in the community above herself. Her colleagues in our 7th District at that time remembered her as being energetic and full of life. We recognize that today's news doesn't bring Officer Campbell back to her family, her community, or our department. But we hope this news can bring some form of closure to all of those who have carried the burden of this tragedy for over 3 decades. We will continue to honor Officer Campbell's memory and ensure her legacy lives on within our agency and within our community. And once again, we thank the chief and the detectives that worked so tirelessly to bring this case to closure. It was not only short of impressive, but it was very important, and it brings closure to the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department as well. So thank you very much, and thank you, Chief.
So we're going to open up the floor for questions. We have Assistant Chief Willie Parker Lone, as well as our detectives. John McCarthy is here. John will not be able to talk about specifics of the case because the bond hearing is this afternoon, but we will open up the floor for approximately 5 minutes to answer questions for you all. Let me just pass the microphone so that it can be heard over our live feed, okay?
Okay. Just when you read the charging documents, it seems like it was pretty clear at the time that the boyfriend was a suspect. What took till today to actually seal this thing? Whoever might be able to ask, John? Or?
My name is John McCarthy. I'm State's Attorney for Montgomery County. I was not involved in the conversation. There was several state's attorneys ago, actually. A wonderful man, Andrew Sonner, was the state's attorney at the time. The decision was made not to proceed in that matter. I was not privy to, nor do I know what the conversation was regarding why the charges were dropped at that point in time. I've been intimately involved with the men and women, and particularly with Paula Hamill and those who worked at the case today. And I'm intimately familiar with what the facts that are in this charging document, and supported the action that was taken by the police today. I can't speak to what happened before. That was 30 years ago, and I was not part of that conversation.
But you're saying, John, he was charged at one point and then the charges were dropped?
Yes, that is correct. He was previously charged. The matter was reviewed previously, and it was dropped. I do not know I don't intimately know what was happened, but there isn't a prior existing charging document. I think if you compare the charging documents, there's a lot more detail and information that's been developed by Detective Hamill and the men and women of the police department today. It's in the document that you will all see at some point in time today. That fleshes out this case, I think, a little bit more clearly than it was at that time.
So because of that new information now,
again, I would ask you, you can for yourself compare the two documents. We'll probably have both of them available to you. And you can see that there's a lot more detail that was developed by the ongoing efforts of the cold case unit and the men and women of this department working today on this matter. Anybody else?
You guys can hear me? Okay. Josh Chapin from Channel 7. We've been able to speak where anyone can speak on behalf of Officer Campbell's family a little bit, and you know what they've been going through, some resolution, a little bit of justice for them. Anyone can speak to that a little bit.
I can say that Officer Campbell's mother subsequently died after several years after she was killed. Her father is still alive. I spoke to her father, or I have been speaking to her father. I spoke to him yesterday, and the only words that he could get out were, "Thank God."
That must be emotional. I was going to say, I can hear the emotion in your voice. Can you speak to that a little bit, and even just the aftermath of that conversation for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long time coming. It will show my age, but I worked in the homicide division in 1995 when this case happened. So I was familiar, although I wasn't initially assigned the case, I was familiar with the case. So over 29 years, I've maintained interest in the case. I'm thankful for our cold case unit, who was also able to investigate over the years the case. And so I would say that, yeah, it's definitely there's a little bit of emotion and a little bit of peace for me.
Mike, WTOP, has there been any other person of interest in this case, or has it always been one person in this case?
There has not been another person of interest.
And the other question, too, can I talk about, get just the impact to the DC Police Department when it comes to losing one of your own and having this unresolved for so many years?
Yeah, as you can imagine, Dena's never left the heart and minds of our agency. And several detectives who are very close with her, best friends with her, have always championed and believed that at some point in time this case would close. We always had faith in the homicide department of this agency. And I can tell you that we are very delighted to be able to spread the news to MPD that this case has finally come to closure, and that we can finally have some semblance of peace. But you never get over the loss of one of your own, ever. It's something that stays with you even long past after you retire.
These guys, first questions.
Okay. I know we can look at the charging document, but could you share some of the new evidence?
Yeah, I would just prefer that you refer to the charging document because this case obviously needs to go to court, and we don't want to say anything that may not be in there. But the charging document that Detective Hamill filled out is pretty in-depth and provides a lot of information. As Mr. McCarthy said, you can see the difference between that and the original, charging document, so that can easily lay out the additional information that was obtained.
Sorry, I've seen the charging document. It talks about DNA under her fingernail, an ear witness saying he heard the gunshots and someone yell, "I told you not to do this to me." Her co-workers in her part-time job at a McDonald's on Benning Road saying she wanted to break up with him that night, and telling MPD colleagues that she feared for her safety and slept with her service weapon under her pillow. Was that all known then, or can Paula maybe speak to that? Is this some of that new information? What's the disconnect? I haven't seen the old charging document, but the new charging document lays that
Certainly
out.
some of that is new information. I mean, there's been obviously advances scientifically through DNA, so there has been new information over the years. And there also were additional interviews that were done that maybe weren't done initially, and additional information that we learned from coworkers and friends, and not only police officer friends, but witnesses at the scene, and then the witnesses where she worked part-time, and people that were able to shed light on her life and at that time, and the fear that she felt at that time, and the concerns that she had at that time about Mr. Wonsom at that time, now Mr. Ali.
So some of those interviews had not been done back then.
When he was initially charged, correct.
Paula, was there a period of time in recent months where you were talking with prosecutors and looking at this case again? I mean, you're intimately familiar with it, where you started looking at the evidence A through Z and realizing you really did have a solid case. Can you speak to that? Was there a point where you realized that if we just put this all together and lay it all out in a document, that it would be clear that there was enough evidence to charge him?
Yes, is the short answer. So over the last more than several months, maybe even up to a year, that we've gone over the case, and sometimes it's good to just start back over and maybe look at it differently. Like, I have a lot more experience now than I did then also. And so it's good to start back over and look at everything again and to see, okay, well, what maybe can we look at differently, or what did we not see that we now see, and helped us to be able to kind of put things together and be able to move forward with what we found to the state's attorney's office and to get to where we are today.
We'll take 2 more questions before we wrap.
I just had one more question in regards to Officer Campbell. Can you talk a little about any awards or commendations she received, particularly in regards to that incident you were talking about where she saved people? What awards or medals did she get out of that?
I'm not exactly sure then what commendations, but I do know, in keeping with the standard of our agency, she would have received something similar to a life-saving award, saving several people. Undoubtedly, she would have received a life-saving award, among other commendations that would have come along with such a heroic act.
I'm sorry, can I ask Paula one more question? You mentioned that when the victim's father was notified, his reaction was, thank God. Was there a reaction from Mr. Ali when you guys went knocking on his door?
I wasn't present when he was arrested.
His reaction?
I
Did he say anything? Did he, you got me, or, I mean?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, that will conclude our news conference. We do have the news release. It has been posted to our website. We do have hard copies of it. Elsa has the hard copies, as well as a booking photo for Mr. Wonsom, and she will hand those out to you. Thank you all for coming this afternoon.